Hey everybody, welcome back to the Pardonable Podcast. I hope everything is working. Again, this is a second time live streaming, giving it a shot. I think I'm live streaming on Twitter, uh, YouTube, and maybe Instagram this time around. Maybe Facebook, but who really cares about Facebook? No one's on Facebook anyway. Um, was gonna live stream last week, but I got sick and still somewhat sick, so I sound a little bit nasally because I've been on the mend. Um, but I was like, hey, I'm gonna do live stream anyway because I still gotta test this stuff out. So I figured I'd do another quick little live stream, give it a shot, see if it works on all the platforms. Anyway, happy Sunday, happy Sabbath. Today is the day that the Lord has made. I don't even think I put up a post. I don't know what it says. I don't know if there's a title. Normally, I get to add a title. I don't even think I did that this time around. I have no idea what the title says. Um, Either way, this is going to be a quick one. Um, Dang, I uh, I am under the weather, but this country's under the weather. That's how I'm going to start this off. Man, this has been a crazy week. Actually, I was going to do a bunch of stuff about the border last week, but I got sick. But I was like, I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. Um, but man, I've been paying attention to the news. I don't know if you have, and it's getting kind of wild out there. And so, one of the things that I wanted to talk about the whole border thing, and I was going to bring up some. Hold, let me see if I can get rid of this. Hold on, let's do this real quick, just so everybody knows. Just so we're all full aware. Breaking news. I have no idea what I'm doing. Bear with me as I test this stuff out. Let me see if I can get rid of. No, let's not do that. I have chat too, by the way. I can see chat. I was gonna pull it up. Let's see about this. Um, Boom. But I don't know if I like that. I don't know if I like that on the screen. And so I'm just gonna leave that off. That looks awful. I like I don't want to see that. So we're not gonna do that part. But we'll leave actually let's get rid of this too. Anyway, man, the border's getting crazy. And the thing that I was paying attention the most about it was, is this gonna be what everyone was calling the new January 6th? Now, I get it, and I thought about this a lot. Like, it makes sense that people are like, "Oh my God, there's a migrant crisis. We need to get down there." The combating between Texas National Guard and Biden's administration, how they're going after each other on who's going to be in charge of the border, who's letting migrants in, why are they taking down the barbed wire fences. All of it definitely seemed convoluted and difficult to kind of wrap your head around, which makes sense. Hold on, let me move this over. Which makes sense because it is confusing. The one thing that I thought was the most confusing is uh is the fact that we've heard about migrant crisis like for the past years. I mean, decade. There's a crisis at the border. I remember when Trump was calling it a crisis at the border, and all the Republicans and Fox News are like, it's a crisis. And CNN was like, there's no crisis. No one's coming over. It's not a big deal. And then eventually people started coming over and they're like, all right, we might need to address this. So it is a big deal. No, it's a big deal, but we're taking care of it. And then you had the whole course, the kids in cages and AOC taking photo ops down at a fence outside of an In-N-Out Burger. Whoever knows where she was. The fact that Kamala Harris is supposed to be was in charge of the border. I don't remember what happened to that. And they asked her like, "Hey, have you gone down to that border, seen what's going on?" She's like, "Yeah, I've been down the border." Like, well, where at? Where'd you go? Yeah, I've been down to the border, sort of, maybe. Which border? What, on the border, the Mexican restaurant? Yeah, I've been down there. That's basically how she treated it, and that was basically how that whole thing went down. And I was like, I get it. Like, and then of course the news speed up a little bit to a few years ago when Desantis and Abbott were just shipping illegals all the way up to Martha's Vineyard in New York. And people were like, this is an awful political stunt. How dare you treat these are human beings? How dare you treat these people this way? But no one brought up the fact, like, yeah, it might have been a political stunt, but it was great for everyone to kind of see what the crisis was going on and kind of expand this like, hey, we're dealing with something down here, and I know you guys don't really care because you're not around, but now I'm going to make sure that you realize it's a serious issue. And even that was not really quite enough. And what I think is throwing this whole thing for a wrench now is i uh I know that no one everyone's like, the border is an issue, right? We don't want to leave, but we shouldn't call them illegals. No, they're human beings. No human being is just illegal. And I get the sentiment of all that. Um, but what I didn't expect is to all of a sudden start seeing almost an enormous amount of, I don't even know if that's a real word. That's how messed up my sciences are at making up words over here. So that's what you get. Um, but seeing like airports flooded with them, seeing schools being shut down and housing migrants, and then that one recreation center that came out this week in Boston where people were pissed because they're like, we're in the inner city. This is all we have to do is this recreation center, and they shut it down to house migrants. This is happening all over the US and in major cities. And finally, people are like, this is an issue. And I think at first, you can always say the migrant, illegal immigrant thing is an issue and people need to pay attention to that. But no one really pays attention to it unless you're down there dealing with it. But now it seems like it's flooded in all over the place, like everywhere. And I would say, well, maybe not. Maybe it's just some big cities. Maybe we're not seeing anything like that. Maybe it's not like a big cover up. They're not hiding things. But if you do just pay attention to like the subtle things that are happening around, I've got one. Check this out. Here's a local story. This is where I was like, this is crazy. Here's a local story from where I'm up at. I'm up in upstate New York. Um, Pittstown is not far from me. And so this happened this week, and I'm just going to play. This isn't me stoking the fire. I'm just going to point out to how crazy. I'm in upstate New York, far far from the border, and of course, illegal immigrants have been all over the country for sure. But all of a sudden, it's being highlighted hardcore. But this came out on CBS Albany this week. I want you to watch this video. There's a bus comes to a stop. Van plows right through as the door was opening to let a child off and runs into traffic. Check this out again. Van speed up. It's fast. It's sped up for some reason. I don't understand why the video. Obviously, the van wasn't moving that quick. I mean, it was moving quick, but not that quick. Watch this again. The door of the school bus opens up, and so I read the article, and so the school bus driver was literally letting a child off, had to grab the child and pull them back. Um, how crazy is that? Oh, let me adjust this. Actually, I want to put it like this. How crazy is that? But the weird thing is, this is like 10 miles from my house. And of course, like stuff like this happens. We heard about the drunk driver, the illegal that's been deported 3 times, and has like 3 DUIs, and it killed a couple last week. We're seeing this stuff pop up everywhere. But this one in particular, the school bus driver had to pull the kid back. That could have been horrifically bad. But the thing that surprised me the most is this is 10 minutes away from me. This isn't like 10 minutes away from the border. It's 10 minutes away from where I am. And so I was like, what's the deal? How is it this in the zeitgeist? And I was like, but even if, is anyone actually going to wake up? Now, check this out. This is the one thing that did astonish me. So the headline, I don't have the headline. Oh, a van nearly struck a school bus in Pittstown before hitting a vehicle and crashing into the trees. Hold on a second. I'm going to pull this back. I'm going to show you the headline that was up first. If I can find it, super professional here. Check out, this was the original headline. Update. So 22-year-old driver of the van that nearly struck the school bus before crashing into trees in Midtown today is facing charges, right? But what you don't know is he's not facing any charges. He got let out. And then here's all the comments. Check these comments out. Of course, he's an illegal. Just say what it is. Cut the nonsense. Obviously, the person says he's going to be let out. Come on, CBS, do better. He's an unlicensed legal alien. So all of these comments, he was released, release scheduled to appear in Pittstown, blah, blah, blah. He's out. He's out still driving. What's the chances he shows up to court? We're all still waiting for him to kill somebody before deporting him. One of the charges should be immediately deportation. Dude, this is sentiments from people most likely local to the area. And they're all like, why won't you even point out that they're illegal? Like, this is easily political. This is easily a political stunt. Like, they're not pointing out this because they don't want to stoke fire on whatever's going on in the US right now anyway. It's wild. It's so wild that this is actually popping up everywhere. And to say it's going to be a big issue come voting season is an understatement. It's going to be a major, huge, huge issue. And I don't know how this doesn't. All right, so let's go and address the elephant in the room, the Civil War thing. That thing keeps popping up everywhere. People are talking about civil war kicking off with this whole border crisis thing. And then Malcolm Flex is a guy I follow on Twitter. He pointed out something very particular because you have I mean, other than the fact that the split down the middle between right and left is getting bigger and bigger by the day, like it's getting whatever this is, this tension's growing and growing and growing. Um, to outstanding numbers. It's only probably going to get worse. And I think Malcolm Flex, you can follow on Twitter. He pointed out like this idea, this fantasy LARPing of civil war, this accelerationist concept of like, well, we just let's hurry up and do it. Let's secession and all the talk about that. He goes, you don't know what that really looks like. You have to really look yourself in the mirror and say, do I want my family and all the people I love, my friends, to die? Because this doesn't. Once you open that genie out of that bottle, it doesn't get put back in unless there's extreme violence. And it being like the worst case scenario, last ditch effort to save quote unquote America is pretty outstanding. That would be a go to, or the fact that we're even talking about it, and I've seen online talking about it nonchalantly. Like that is mind blowing. And I'm sure there's a few people out there that are like, let's go, let's rock and roll, let's get this thing done. But I don't know. I'm a little bit more hesitant to be like, this sounds like a terrible idea. Is there any way to bring it back from the brink that we're at? This brink from where we already are. And I honestly, I don't think it is. I think we've crossed so many Rubicons at this point that there's no really coming back. And what I want to say, and this is how I'm already noticing it, and you've probably already noticed it too. So along with the immigrant crisis, someone here recently, I keep hearing people talk about like there's things that weren't political that are now political. So let's take the football thing that came out. Now, me, not a sports guy. I don't watch football. I could care less. Every time I hear about football or sports or have you seen the team? I listen. I get it. I get the camaraderie. I get why it feels good to be on a team and feel like you're a part of something. It's not my main frame. I don't really even have a political party. I don't have a community that's tight knit that we fall in line, and I don't really have much of that. I'm a bit of a nomad, and the Bible talks about Christians being sojourners because your kingdom's not of this world. That's how I've always kind of felt. Like, yeah, I agree with a lot of people, and I'm part of communities, but I'm not full on allegiant to any particular tribe. Um, and it never happened. I think that's kept me outside of the peer view of any kind of particular echo chamber, and I think that's somewhat healthy. The one thing it does lack is that you never can quite um feel connected. I think I feel disconnected from most people when it comes to certain things. Back to the football, here's another reason. I don't know, everyone I know loves sports, but every time I see the sports thing and people getting riled up, the first thing I think of is bread and circuses. The thing that all dying civilizations do is they feed their public bread and circuses to keep them docile and not really to revolt. And so I think of sports that way. Now, is it good for young men to take their aggressions out on the field versus out in the streets? Absolutely. I think it's great team building, all that stuff. Sports are great. I played sports growing up. It was a good time. It's fun. I don't do that now. Just not a sports guy. Don't watch it. Don't really care. But I have been watching this Taylor Swift stuff because now it's getting cultural. But it surpassed the cultural thing and straight into politics. And so let me tell you why. So the Taylor Swift thing I thought was interesting because easily it makes sense. Like NFL got a big jump there. Sure, they might not have been planned, but Taylor Swift going to all the Chiefs games. Hey, the fact that I still know it's a Chiefs game thing, um, is pretty astounding. But the whole conspiracy theory that this is all planned out, this is what was going on this week, that this whole thing is planned out because Taylor Swift is a known Democrat. This whole thing is planned out. So when the whole NFL thing was rigged, the Chiefs weren't supposed to win, but they were one because they're bought off. Like all the refs are bought off because this is a mainstream kind of mockingbird scenario where the media is playing into to secure Biden as the next president. Um, Wild conspiracy theory. A lot of certain. The thing about it is, there's probably a lot of things that are totally true. Um, not not going to say they're not true because it would make sense in the publicity to like, hey, we need to up the NFL ratings, hook Taylor Swift up with this guy and bring her to the games. Make sure she can pay her to come to the games because I'm sure she loves football. Pay her to come. That all makes sense. But the fact that like Super Bowl comes, obviously the Chiefs are going to win. because it's all paid off anyway. And then, the guy is gonna, on the football field ask Taylor Swift to marry him, which, to be honest, talk about all your teammates being pissed, right? Like, you're like, "Ah, we won the Super Bowl. Everyone stand up. Woo." And they're like, shut up. He's about to propose." You imagine being on that football team being like, "Look at all we accomplished." Like, "No, no, 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 not you. Sit down. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. We want to see the proposal thing." Man, that would suck. Anyway, hope that doesn't happen. But if it's all paid for anyway, they're all on it, so they know. Um, oh man, you imagine if all the football players like lined up as they ran out. He runs out and he's like, "I'm gonna ask Taylor to marry me." And they were all in on it. Their football players are doing cartwheels. None of it's real. It's all wrestling, guys. I hate to tell you, it's all wrestling. If you don't think the mob doesn't own the NFL by this point in time, where have you been? I get it. Again, bread and circuses. Let's not think everything is as dismal as thinking, it's a conspiracy theory. But anyway, that was a big thing. And then all the mainstream media were like, "Look at these stupid right wingers thinking that this is a conspiracy theory." But let's really talk about when Taylor does promote Joe Biden and how that's going to help his ratings. And then they went in to be like, "It's a conspiracy theory." That's not a bad one. It's not a bad idea. So let's lean into that, which is what they do with everything. It all always turns out to be like, it's just a conspiracy theory, except for when it's not, which has been every conspiracy theory that's come out. Um, but the thing I thought about that was that's a cultural thing. The Taylor Swift football thing, that's a culture thing. It's a culture war. Like, and I get it too. And as somebody who's like, look at all these children watching their sports ball. Look at all the Star Wars crap behind me. Like, I'm not immune to my own bread and circuses. I'm fully aware that every Marvel propaganda that comes out, I'm like, I've got to watch every episode when it comes out. I'm fully aware. Um, of, of my own ironic critique. But it's the same thing. It's a cultural thing. But now it's all become political. Same with all the Marvel stuff anyway. The Miss Marvel thing. All the politics. It's a culture war thing, but it always bleeds back into politics. And I'm not sure if it's just because it's an election year, but I would say no. I think everything is moving into politics. And the reason I say everything is moving into politics is because the dividing line between the right and left is growing so large and getting so over all encompassing. It's overtaking literally everything. You can't have a Marvel movie or a football game or a beer commercial that is not going to be used in some form of campaign ad. Um, it's not just going to just take over everything. It's crazy. Oh, there is one thing I did want to show you. This guy. So in the midst of all of this, this is one of the highlights. Or let me look. Let me get this thing together. I'm sorry. Bear with me. Good Lord. Let me see if I can find this thing. I know you guys can see whatever. I thought this tweet summed it up absolutely perfectly. Let's see if I can get this up here. All right, so let's go back to this. I can share this thing. All right. So this guy in the midst of all this stuff, John Favreau, not the John Favreau that you're thinking of, or at least I thought of. I was like, John Favreau, this doesn't look like him in the picture. He tweeted out this. He said, "The real psyop here is that we all somehow got all these right-wing weirdos to rage against America's most popular sport and America's most popular entertainer in an election year. Keep it coming, freaks." And then Cozy Golfer right underneath that. And this is what I was like, this tweet wins. Like, it's the best. The real psyop here is that we got all the left-wing weirdos to celebrate a straight white couple and quit whining about the Kansas City Chiefs have a racist team name. Like, how ridiculous is this season of life? Like, what what is happening? That was such a well articulated like storyboard of what's going on in our culture today and what we've been dealt with, like, and how it's moving forward. You can't even watch it. You can't enjoy the T Swifts. You can't enjoy her and her music because obviously she's left wing, and you can't enjoy football because now she's in there ruin all those football players and all their love for the game, and it's all coming to collide. It's all coming to an head. This political divide has seeped into literally every aspect of everything. to where now you can't escape it. And I don't think you're supposed to. I think the political divide thing is a great way for I mean, let's be honest, the whole divide and conquer thing comes to mind because it's so prevalent. Like if you can fight, it used to be like, I want my football team to win. No, I want my football team to win, right? And now it's not. It's, now I want I, I think the football thing is an entire conspiracy theory. Alex Jones points out that it's reptilians are taking over my NFL and Taylor Swift is part of them, and the whole thing's crazy. It's good time out there. But that political divide thing is getting kind of wonky. And I used to be like, this is a bad idea, guys. We need to unify. I used to be big into that. And still somewhat am. But it's increasingly getting harder. Um, and I think that's on purpose too. I think it's increasingly getting harder for people to look at their neighbor and not wonder where their politics are at. Or look at the people, they work with and be like, man, I don't know. Because of stuff like the divide encroaching on everything, people are really starting to think that they can't live in a world next to each other. And to be honest, I feel that too. And if you don't feel that yet, be like, no, they're just normal people with slightly different policies. It's not turning out to be that way anymore. Like the fact that you're either on the side of letting illegals basically lean into voting, or you're on the side of like mass deportation, get them all out. And then I heard a ton of right wingers be like, we're stop immigration, legal immigration for the next 5 years till we solve this problem. Like the pendulum swings are so opposite ends. I don't know how any of this turns out to be like we find that one unifying president, that one person runs, the RFK runs, and everyone's kind of like, it's kind of a good guy. Hey, did we did, weren't we fighting about something? No, it doesn't matter. We're all Americans. We're all Americans. We're all in this together. I don't even we saw that easily with like any kind of adversary, when Russia was attacking Ukraine, that turned political. I mean, most people, this isn't like a 9/11 anymore. It's not like we're being attacked. And then all of America comes together, be like, yeah, I don't even think if 9/11 were to happen today or something like that, I don't even think there would be no way we would combine, all and unify, be like, this is it. We need to go to war. We need to defend our borders. I don't even think we have that anymore. I don't think there's any aspect of a unified America at this point. And I don't, as much as I want to blame the left, and I think most of that, I'm gonna be honest, most of the blame has to go from even the Jan 6 thing. And at first, when January 6th happened, I was like, that was a dumb move. That was easily a honeypot. And of course, you know, Monday morning quarterbacking. There's your football reference. I wasn't there. I don't know. I'm not really a hard Republican, so I wouldn't have been there in the first place. But to be honest, like I know a bad situation when I see one, and all the FBI Governor Whitmer kidnapping things that were coming out, everything feels like a psyop to me anyway. So anytime someone's like, "This is a psyop," I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." Most likely, I'm full on board with that. I don't trust anybody. I don't trust anything, and that's why the border thing was so freaking me out. Is because this easily has to be a honeypot. If you're getting normal Americans be like, "I need to go down there and defend the border because all these people are crossing over. I'm gonna bring my guns and go down there," and be like, I mean, sure, but that's again like you fool me once, shame on me, fool me twice. Like this is on you now. Like I get it. If you were a part of the J6 and you toured the Capitol and then you end up in solitary confinement for 9 months, and that sucks. That's a bad rap. That shouldn't happen. But if you're like round two, then I'm like, all right, well, I don't know what to tell you. There's no way that turns out. It turns out to not be a perfect honey trap, and so that whole thing got me got me thinking. But at the same time, I don't know how without from the White House and Joe Biden doing a State of the Union, I'll never forget it because I'm not even really in the MAGA camp, but I understand where they're coming from. I understand how they feel. I feel a lot of what they feel. I probably find myself probably leaning more into that camp than anything because I understand where they're coming from. And for a while there, I was like, I understand where the Democrats are coming from. A ton of friends are liberals. They're empathetic. They're way more. They're like, hey, if we have all these resources and all this power, let's make sure we uplift each other. And I understand that. I come from a church culture too, and a lot of that empathy and compassion is built in. I know where they're coming from. But now when you have a White House saying half of America are extremists, I mean, half the stuff I've said on my podcast, I'm like, does that land me on a list? Am I on a list now because of something I said about Jesus? The fact that they were looking at the thing that came out recently, they're flagging credit card keywords that say Trump or Bible. If you bought a Bible, they're looking to find out, if you're an extremist. When they were going after Catholics for buying rosaries, that this is an extremist symbol. The Catholic rosary is an extremist symbol. And then blatantly not looking at any of the other stuff that happened. And that's my thing about the whole January 6th is the fact that Kamala Harris compared to 9/11, what? Like, how am I supposed to take these people seriously at this point? But on top of that, be like, I don't understand. It's an insurrection. Why? What are these crazy lunatics doing? It's like, are you kidding me? We watched an entire year of half the country burn the other half down, and no one went to any. Politicians were bailing them out. And they were like, "No, no, it's the voice of the unheard. It's okay. It's okay." They saw this video online and it's justified of all the okay, so we watched it for a whole year, happen all summer long, and then come January 6th, why wouldn't they think they could just tear down the we've watched BLM and all the left-wing protesters tear down state senates and during the Kavanaugh hearing rushing in, and then they did it after too with the Palestine stuff. This has never stopped on the left. It just continues to do it, but the right should have known better because as soon as you cross that line, boom, solitary confinement for grandma. I don't care if you stayed in the velvet ropes or not. To say there's a two-tier justice system is a dumb statement at this point in time. Of course there is. But I mean, I would say it's probably three-tier. I think there's a level of finance in there as well. If you're up there in finances, chances are you're not dealing with the same level of tier as all these poor people who went to the Capitol and were ushered in by cops and are sitting in prison. Speaking of which, this will be the thing, and I want to talk about this real quick. This is what I mean by the divide. This thing grind my gears. And normally I'm all playful, like let's have a good time. I've been under the weather, so I'm gonna turn the whole mood upside down and go into the weather. So this week, I think it was this week, there was something that sparked my attention, and I was like, man, if you couldn't divide the country anymore, if you couldn't do it anymore, so um this would just be the most outrageous way to make people hate this administration and hate the government, and to think that it's unjustifiably being targeted. This would definitely be it. Check this story out. I was playing. Hold on. Let me get this thing real quick. I'm gonna start this over, and then all right. So this was Greg Price. He broke this. I don't remember what day this was. March 5th. Wait. Oh, this happened on March 5th. These protesters, let me just read it real quick. 6 pro-life activists were found guilty in a federal court after being prosecuted by Biden's DOJ under the FACE Act for protesting outside of a Nashville abortion clinic. There's a snippet of the protest, which occurred on March 5th, 2001. This is obviously 2001, a while back. For the crime of praying and singing hymns, these 6 activists now face a maximum of 11 years. Now, check this out. This is their protest. We saw America burned down. Look at this. What they're doing. Super threatening. I'm freaking terrified. Look at these protesters. These protesters are violent. They're obscene. They're unrestrained. They're horrifically out of line, and they definitely need to go to jail for 11 years in prison. Hold on, let me get rid of this. In prison. Like, that's my point. Is like, how do you come back from this and be like, "Ah, yeah." And the same thing happened with COVID. When people are like, after the COVID thing, we're like, "We need amnesty." Because we all had different viewing facts, and some of us, sat on the fence and we're like, "Do masks work? Do masks not work?" Garbage. Most of you guys wanted people in jail. You wouldn't let people go see their grandma in case they got grandma sick again in her funeral. You wouldn't. Oh, that was weird. You would this whole thing was crazy. Like, and the fact that we're supposed to, and people tried that. We're like, we need to come and unify as America again, even after, I know the right and left had their differences about COVID. No, that crap has not even ended. It's mind blowing, and I just don't. I hate to say this on the beginning of the week, but man, it's getting crazy out there, and it's only going to get worse. The fact that they gave those, and I get it. Someone commented below, and they're like, "Well, they were blocking an entrance, and that's a violation of the Face Act. They shouldn't have been doing that." Sure, take them to jail, lock them up. But for 11 years, and that doesn't go on top of the fact that we've watched Trump, whether he's guilty or not, just indicted, being crazy smeared. And then the fact that he wasn't even convicted of sexual assault, but got convicted of defamation because he was like, I didn't sexually assault this lady. And and as and I guess made fun of her for accusing him of sexually assaulting him, and then he gets 83 million in penalties for defamation after she accused him of sexually assaulting and found him that was not true. Man, it's such a crazy world out there. Anyway, I've gone for 30 minutes. I'm hoping this live stream. Honestly, again, this was just a test. I'm still trying to figure out how to live stream on Instagram and Facebook like a boomer. I haven't figured that part out yet either. But I'm gonna do this again every week. Be a little bit more chipper and a little bit more intact right now. Again, I'm a bit drowsy, still recovering off of being sick. But anyway, I appreciate you guys joining in. Just letting you know, it's getting wild out there. If you have any ideas on how to stop this crazy divide in America to unify, I'd love to hear them. Um, I'd love to talk about that because it's starting to get weird out there. And dude, we just got through January. It's been 1 month of an election year. Actually, let's talk about this real quick before we head out. The thing that you know that it's like the downfall of civilization. The thing that you know that why is because every election year people are like, yeah, it's gonna get bad. Like it's a known common occurrence that come election year is just about to pop off. Like it's just gonna go downhill. Like things are gonna get wild and crazy. Let's come up with bingo cards, all that good stuff, dude. You know that. You know that it's gonna be. This is how you know it's bad. Like you can't tell me 40 years ago during election year, people were like, "Yeah, it's election year. Expect the riots." I don't. I don't know if that was a thing. No, I haven't been around that long, but it's crazy. Every 4 years, you can assume America's going to fall apart on and implode in on itself politically. You'll know that. And the fact that that's a given, that they're just jokes about it, has to be a clear sign of a downfall of society. There's nothing good that can come out of that. Anyway, we finished out the month. We're in February. We'll see how this one goes. Go and start filling your bingo cards out now because I don't know. I didn't also have Carl Weathers dying on my bingo card. That might be why I'm in such a poor mood. Poor guy didn't make it through. You know what? He's probably like, I got out before it got crazy. So that's always a plus. Getting out before this wild show. We could really use Carl Weathers right now. Anyway, I'm gonna go make a stew in honor of Carl Weathers, and I will see you guys back here next Sunday. Thanks for stopping in.